Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Brittany Hayles and I'm the career coach that gives you the confidence to go after what you want. A lot of people just do not take phone interviews seriously, myself included, if I'm being honest. I didn't used to, but now I absolutely do. And you have to realize that first impressions are everything. It doesn't matter if that's just a screening call or it's your first call with your first interviewer, doesn't matter. You need to take it as seriously as if you were meeting with the manager or if you're meeting with someone face to face. So in today's video, I'm gonna be walking you through 6 tips you need to prepare for your next phone interview. Before we even get started, if you are all about growing your career, interview skills, resume skills, whatever it may be, this is the channel for you. So go ahead and click that subscribe button. Let's get started. First tip is to research company and role expectations. Now you may be saying to yourself, duh, I have to research the job and the company, but it's really not duh. Because I've conducted thousands of interviews, and when I say thousands, I mean thousands. I'm not exaggerating. That used to be my job. And I was shocked how people would come into the interview and I would ask them questions about the company, have no idea what I'm talking about, or I'd ask them questions related to the job and they were fumbling the question, okay? So you may be saying to yourself, duh, I have to study it, but either you're not studying it properly or you're not taking it seriously. So go into that company's mission page, study their website, really understand what their missions are and what drives them, their products and services from back to front. Same thing goes for the role. Understand what's expected out of you in that role. One time I was interviewing somebody for an assistant position and I asked the person a question about event planning and they were struggling to answer the question. That is a fundamental part of being an assistant. Let's be real, right? It was very obvious that that person did not do their research. You don't want to get caught up in the little stuff like that because you're like, oh, I know the day-to-day. Yeah, you know the day-to-day, but sometimes you get asked about the day-to-day. And sometimes you're so used to doing it in the back of your head, you're not thinking about like the step-by-step of how you would typically do it. So make sure you're studying the company, studying the role, really study your resume because you will probably get asked a lot of questions about that as well. And just really understand how to answer behavioral and situational questions, as well as just general crazy interview questions that they may ask you. The best thing you can do in an interview is just prepare as much as possible by studying. I have a video right here titled How to Ace Your Next Interview. If you want to dive deeper into what you should be studying, watch this video. The second tip is to find a quiet space and limit your distractions for the interview. Just because it's a phone interview does not mean you should be taking extra precautions to make sure you don't have any distractions or that you're not interviewing in a quiet space. Do everything you have to. Let the people you live with know that you're going to be going into an interview. Make sure you're not walking down the street while you're interviewing. Be very cognizant of these things. And if you need to and can afford to do so, I've seen a lot of people do this where they rent out a co-working space or rent out a booth. A lot of places like WeWork and places like that allow you to do so for as little as 30 minutes. So definitely try and invest in that as well. Having a very quiet home 24/7 is a privilege, right? So if you know for a fact that you have kids, or you have a family that you live with, or your house or where you are located is just not quiet, let your recruiter know ahead of time. A lot of people are willing to work with you, but the mistake that people make is letting them know when they get on the call, hey, I know it's loud in here, please forgive me. No, the only way you can be forgiven is if you let us know ahead of time. So do not be afraid to let them know, like, my living situation is not ideal right now. When I get on this call, it may be a bit noisy. Thank you. And that's just the reality. No one's gonna fault you for that. The third tip is to be on time. Once again, it's a phone interview. You may have full confidence in the fact that you're gonna be next to your phone's gonna be readily available, and you're ready to go. But you cannot have so much confidence in this because things happen. So do everything in your power to eliminate you being late to the call. Charge your phone. Charge your AirPods if you plan on using them. Make sure that the technology on your phone and your phone is fully updated so it's not updated in the middle of the call or has to update right before. Double check every little thing that could possibly go wrong with your phone or with communication. Make sure that you're in a good cell service, whatever it may be. Anything that's going to prevent you from being on time, think about it, checklist it, go through it, because I'm telling you, we put a lot of confidence in the fact of like, you don't have to commute to the interview, or you don't have to show up in a square right in front of them. All you have to do is call them. So you're like, I'll be fine. That's exactly when things go wrong. Murphy's Law, right? So do everything in your power to make sure that you're ready. And just like the tip before, if you know you are running late, let your recruiter know. It is better to let them know than just show up late out of nowhere. So an hour to 30 minutes before, check in, see if you know you're gonna be on time. And if you know you're not, let them know. They much rather you do that than show up 10 minutes late. Make sure you're ready for that call so you can be on time. Tip number 4 is to let them finish the question before you answer. This used to drive me crazy when I did phone interviews. There are certain social cues that happen when you are face-to-face in an interview, or even virtual in an interview, that do not happen when you're on the phone. So make sure you're paying extra attention to just letting your recruiter or the interviewer finish the question before you answer. There are sometimes even lags in a phone call where you can't hear them properly. This just helps make you look more confident, and also makes you seem considerate and that you're actually intently listening versus just, trying to ramble off and talk about yourself the entire time. Be intentional with listening. I've been in phone interviews before where the person was cutting me off every single time, and I don't know if they were doing it intentionally or if they could not hear me. So if you can't hear your person on the other side of the phone, like, let them know. It's nothing rude about it. Just say, hey, I'm having trouble hearing you. Please. It drives whoever you're talking to crazy if you do not let them finish first. Tip number 5 is to speak slowly and avoid rambling. When you're face-to-face in an interview in person, you're hearing that person in real time and hearing them very clearly. On the phone, doesn't always have the best connection, doesn't always have the best sound, which is why it is 10 times more important when you're doing a phone interview to speak slow and speak at a certain cadence. This allows every word to be heard, allows all of your thoughts to get put across without there being any fuzz or any miscommunication. And because a phone conversation is very comfortable and feels like you're just talking to a friend, it's very easy to start rambling because, again, there are no social cues where you can see the person like, okay, are they gonna shut up? Even in a virtual interview where they're like, all right, it starts to get a little obvious that they want you to stop talking. So in a phone interview, be very considerate, about being concise with your answer and not over talking or going way into much detail about a story, because it's so easy to do that because it's comfortable. Tip number 6 is to ask your interviewer questions. It's your interview just as much as it is theirs. So when you get to the end and they're like, hey, do you have any questions? Do not be surprised when you get into that job and absolutely hate it. Because you had the opportunity to ask them about the reality of working there, or what it's really, whatever you're really curious about, and you didn't do it. Think about what you are looking forward to in a next job, things that you want, things that you're aspiring towards, and ask questions about that. And then think about things that you've done in previous jobs that you did not like, things that you do not want to experience anymore, things that would stop you from taking a job opportunity. Ask those questions as well. And lucky for you, I go in depth in this topic on specific questions you should be asking in my video, questions to ask at the end of an interview. So definitely check out that video so you can have a better idea of the type of questions you should be asking and what not to ask as well. And speaking of that, do not ask at the end of an interview how you did, because you could have done phenomenally. And you have to remember, your interviewer is only hearing your answer to a question and then never hearing it again. So even if you didn't do that great, it is what it is. If you get to the end of the interview, now you're literally asking them to bring up every terrible thing that you did. No, leave it. Leave it alone. Let the feedback come in if you were unfortunately had to experience receiving a rejection. Then you can ask at the end of that entire experience if they have any feedback. Other than that, leave it as it is. Ask your questions, thank them for their time, and keep it pushing. That's it, y'all. Phone interviews are great because there isn't as much pressure, but you should still be applying pressure. So if you are preparing for a phone interview, I'm here to help you. I conduct mock interviews for a living, that's what I do, and create fully customized interviews for you based off the company you're applying for the job you're applying for your years of experience. So if you're interested, definitely hit me up at info@haylesconsulting.com or use the link down below to schedule one-on-one time with me. Thank you all so much for watching, and like this video, subscribe to my channel, comment down below if you have any other tips that have helped you in phone interviews. Share this video with anyone you know preparing for a phone interview, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.